So recently there, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was preaching, saying how we have to do more and more. So like this is going to decimate industries, you know, fishing, farming, transport. I was looking at the ipcc.ch, that's the official website address, and I wanted to find out who these people are. And it's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, is the United Nations body for assessing science related to climate change. Now, a lot of Ireland and other countries' woes lately seem to be all coming from the United Nations. It's the United Nations Refugee Act that states that if a refugee, stands on your shore and looks for international protection, you have to process it, the whole lot. They have a thing called non-refoulement. They can't be sent back, right? I prefer a situation where the government knows what infrastructure is required and to taper the amount of people coming in to the amount of money the economy has and what that economy can actually put up with, rather than overloading the public services, the likes of hospitals, transport, etc. Right? So that woe, to me, is coming from the United Nations. The other woe is coming from the United Nations through their science division there. I know initially that the United Nations set up in good faith, and it was a great idea at the time after the war, you know, World War II and all. But I think it's time for governments to start looking at the agreements they have, and if it's going to destroy nations, destroy the fabric of society, I think it's time to start looking into pulling out of some of those agreements. I know for a fact that if you want to pull out of the UN Convention on Refugees, it takes a year. Now, other countries have done it before, and they haven't, things haven't been catastrophic for them. And I know the European Court on Human Rights, it takes a year to leave that as well. And it doesn't mean you're leaving the EU, as England found out there lately when they had Brexit. They're still under the ECHR. They should have just applied. Well, it's up to them. I'm not telling them what to do about it. If they had to apply just to leave the ECHR, there would have been what they were sort of looking for, their sovereignty, that they could say who comes in and who doesn't come in. Now, I know some commentators on this will say that the Good Friday Agreement is linked with the ECHR, which is a fair point. But I'm sure if you sat down leaders on both sides of the table and say, do you want to be the people saying who comes into the country, or do you want some outside crowd in you who comes into the country? I'm sure they will eventually come to an agreement on that. Now, I'm not saying that'll be a quick thing, but if you don't set processes in motion, they'll never happen. But there's my thoughts on the subject anyway, and thanks for listening. If you're still listening to the end like this, thank you.